Okay, so there is no full frame Fuji X-T3, just a little bit of clickbait there, just a little bit. But I'm gonna show you how to get your Fuji X-T3 looking a little bit more full frame. But that in just 1 second. First of all, I wanna know who's going to NAB. Who's going with me? Who's doing it? Anybody? If you're going, leave it in the comments below. I love to say hi to you guys, hook up with you guys. I don't think hook up, but yeah, I like to say hi, and if there's any gear that you're excited about or that you want to see, let me know below, and I'm going to be taking a camera, and who knows, I might actually make a video while I'm at NAB. It could happen. Okay, so let's get to the reason why you're here. So last month I was looking for a speed booster for my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, and I know the Metabones one existed, but it was like $700, and so I didn't have that much scratch or money or dollar bills to throw out that camera just quite yet. It's an awesome camera, I love it. I just didn't want to spend a lot of money on a speed booster that I wasn't sure that it was gonna get a lot of use. And so I found a company called Viltrox, but while I was looking through their website, I found out they made a speed booster for the Fuji X-T3. So basically what this is a Canon EF to XF smart adapter. Now it does things like autofocus, it reduces the crop by 0.71, it gives you one stop of aperture back, and it's also firmware upgradable in the future. So a lot of amazing things in this tiny little $200 Viltrox adapter. Now I've seen them as cheap as $189, but $200 is pretty much the going rate right now. Now let's talk about a couple things that it does that gives you more of the full frame look. So using the Viltrox adapter, when you put a 35mm lens on, you're actually reducing the crop by 0.71, which is giving you more like a 37mm lens. So instead of having a 35 being converted all the way to a 50, you're actually having your 35mm look more like a 35mm, 37mm. So take a couple steps forward or a couple steps back, and you're basically in the same range. So it makes it more full frame-like in the sense of you're actually getting more out of these lenses. You're not having to figure out the crop factor for your APS-C sensor. So typically I put something like this 23mm on my Fuji to make it more equivalent to the 35mm focal range, but because I have this Viltrox adapter, when I put this Canon 35mm on, I'm pretty much at 35mm. Another thing that's freaking awesome about the Viltrox is you actually get another stop of light out of it. So if you have like the 35mm f1.4, you're able to actually drop it down from a 1.4 to a 1.0. So you're gaining a full stop of light or aperture. I wouldn't say so much a full stop of light, but you're getting one stop of aperture back out of this lens. Again, Gerald Undone would kill me right now. But what that extra stop allows is not only more light into your sensor, but you're actually getting more depth of field or a shallower depth of field, which gives you just more bokeh. Okay, so let's talk about build quality for a second. Usually when you buy a cheaper adapter, you get what you pay for. But in this case, it's actually a really, really great adapter. It's made of all metal. The optics are good on it. It doesn't have like that weird like janky feel like when you put a cheaper adapter on, there's like that movement between the body and the lens. It's actually on there really, really nice, which I enjoy, and it just feels right. So it's a good adapter, build quality is good. All right, so a lot of you guys are gonna have questions about the autofocus. Now, it's really, really good. That doesn't mean it's as fast as the native glass, but it does a really, really good job. If you have a Fringer adapter, it's pretty close to that. The only lens that I felt like I had a problem with, and again, it can be fixed in future firmware updates as they get this information from their users, is the Canon 50 f1.2 L glass. That one just seemed to focus a little bit slower, which that's not a real fast focusing lens to begin with, but it was slow to focus, and it just didn't want to step down that extra step, which would be like the 0.95. So that lens was kind of hit and miss. So I think it's, you know, per lens, but the 35mm f1.4 L glass, the 85L, the 24L, all of those worked beautifully. The 24 to 70, 2.8 L glass, all of those in my testing seem to do pretty well. If you have a Fringer adapter, or if you've heard of the Fringer adapter, it gets really good reviews and it's a great adapter. But using this adapter, again, gives you just that extra stop of aperture, and it reduces that focal range by 0.71. So I do have a Fringer Pro, I love that thing, but when I'm shooting and I just know that I want a little bit more light, or I want more or shallower depth of field, I'm definitely using the Viltrox adapter in a professional instance as well. So I wouldn't just use it for as a hobbyist or use it for fun, I actually think it's something that you can rely on. And that's saying a lot because I go into wedding situations and I go into portrait situations, into corporate videos, and all those things, having reliability is a huge thing. And so if you're worried about reliability, it seems to be A-okay. So I titled this video Full Frame Fuji X-T3 ? And the reason why I did that is because the speed booster allows you to actually gain a lot of benefits that you would gain from a full frame camera. You're actually gaining the extra stop of light, and you're gaining a little bit more shallow depth of field using that speed booster. So if you've come from a full frame camera and you're using this Fuji as your full-time just body, having this focal reducer might really compensate for some of those things that you're missing in the full frame. Now, I'm not saying, please do not roast me in the comments. I'll delete them, just kidding. I'll just smile and be okay with it. But I understand this is not a full frame equivalent scenario situation, nor would it work as native as an actual full frame body. But this actually gives you another tool in your toolbox to get something a little bit different that maybe other Fuji users aren't getting out of their cameras, which is kind of cool, and I love it. Now, I want to show you guys a couple photos here. All of these photos were taken with a 35mm f1.4, which again is going to be equivalent to the f1.0. And as you can see, I'm actually getting that 35mm equivalent focal length in these images without having to back up and lose depth of field. So there's plenty of depth of field here. And some of these I just was shooting so narrow, like in this last picture, you can see that there's like her hair is just in fine focus, but her face isn't. But you kind of get that the f1.0, when you're shooting that low of an aperture, you're just basically just sewing the thread in a needle. It's just so finite, which is great to have on a Fuji sensor. Along with some photos, I shot some video, and let's go ahead and check that out. So I fully recommend this Viltrox EF-FX2 adapter. It's great, the build quality is good, it's actually pretty reliable. Like I said, you're not getting native autofocus, but the autofocus is plenty usable. A lot of times when you shoot video, you're manually focusing anyways, and with the focus peaking of the X-T3, this is just a really great tool to have in your bag. Also, when you're shooting photos, I found that the photo focusing was actually faster than the video focusing, which is just probably, again, it's not native. But when you're shooting photos, I felt like the autofocus was really reliable. So don't be afraid of this adapter. If you have some Canon glass, or now with Canon RF lenses coming out. Some of this EF glass can be found for pretty cheap on eBay. So if you see like a 51.4 on eBay for like $100, snag that thing if you have this adapter. And now you have a 51.0 lens, which is mind-blowing and awesome. So yeah, again, I fully recommend this adapter. All right, so for all my Fuji friends out there, I hope you found this video useful. Give it a thumbs up if you can. Again, I'll have the links below. If you use the Amazon link, it is an Amazon affiliate link, and I do get a little bit of kickback, but it's not anything to write home about, but I do appreciate it. So if you do buy this adapter, please buy through that affiliate link. With that said, make sure you like and subscribe, and I hope you guys have an amazing time at NAB if you're going. If you're not going, I hope to see you next time.